Okay, so in this video, we want to go ahead and just clean up some bugs that we may have added in our code or fix up anything that I left out in this process. So in any course, I'm really prone to adding bugs because I'm filming and I'm focusing on that. And I don't really have time to actually clean up the bugs and mess up the flow of the course itself. So we just want to try to fix that in this video. And then if anything, if I notice any bugs or if you let me know of any bugs that are in this project, I'll just try to fix them up and add those just as like bonus videos, or maybe we'll create a section just for bug fixes. So if you were in the last section when we took care of the API, we did build a front end folder. So the first thing is just make sure that that is going to be in your project folders. I just want to drag that in. So in your GitHub repo, we just want to make sure that that project or that folder is in the main project folders. Now, this is completely up to you, but I just want to show you how I added that so you're not confused and why that's in the GitHub repo. So I just put the front end folder inside of the main project folder. That's just for storing purposes. And now let's go ahead and fix the first issue here. So if we go to our users accounts here, the problem that occurs here when we go to edit or add a new project is the tags here. So the tags were created from the admin panel and there is no way to actually add tags here. So a user is going to have to deal with any tags that the main admin of this entire website created. So we want to fix this. I don't want to be limited to these tags. So what I want to do here is basically create a new way of adding them from this form. So what I'm going to do here is add in another form field, and we're just going to add in tags with text here, and we're going to remove this checkbox option. So let's go ahead and clean this up here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the text editor, and in here, let's go ahead and just go into the projects app and let's go into templates and then project form here. So we'll go ahead and go down to this form field and we're going to create our own custom field. So what I'm going to do here is just take this class right here and we're just going to put this at the end of the loop here. And basically once we create this field, we're going to have to get this attribute on its own and then just manually add in tags and clean data. So it's not going to be part of the model form. So let's go ahead and just take this label. We'll go ahead and add that right here. And we're just going to say tags here. So it's going to be its own field and we'll get rid of the original tags field. And in here, we'll just do a text area. So we'll just do text area like that. And we need to give it a name. So we need to access this somehow in the backend. So we'll just do name. And let's just do new tags here. So we'll do new tags. And now a user can actually add in some kind of tags here. So to actually style this, let's go ahead and just give that the class of input. So that's going to go with our theme. And let's just add in some placeholder values. So we'll just do add tags here like that. And then ... So if I save this, let's go ahead and see what we have in the front end. So we just did a text area field. So we do need that closing tag right there. And if we go here, if I refresh this, now we should see this field here. So there's a lot of customization that we can do as far as the field size and all that. But at this point, this is going to do. So from now on, instead of having this checkbox, I want a user to be able to simply just add in things like React. So we'll do React, Django, and so on. And then when they submit this, this will be added in the backend. So to actually make this work, I'm going to have to clean up the view itself and how this data is processed. So we just added the field here. And before we remove that, I want to leave it for now just so we can actually see that things are being added. So let's go back into the project app here. And we'll go into our views. And the first view I want to modify is going to be update project. So we're going to have to do this to update and create. So in the request.post method, the first thing I want to do is get the tag. So we'll just do new tags here. And actually, let's just print this out here. So let's just do print. And then we'll just do data. And we'll just do request.post. So request.post like that. So I just want to see that the new fields are being submitted. So if I open up my terminal here, we'll go ahead and just move that out of the way. I just want to see that everything's being printed. So if I submit this, we should see that being printed out in the view. So this is inside of the update view. So I just wanted to make sure to show you that. So this is an update project. So we're just printing the post data. So if I submit this, this is what we have at this point. So we see this new field, new tags, and then we see React and Django. So what I want to do here is turn this into a list so we can actually get each item individually here. So at this point, we don't want a tag called React and Django. We can see that it's a string, so we don't want to do that. We actually want to clean it. So we want to basically just trim that data. So in this case, let's go ahead and set a variable. So we'll just do new tags, and we just want to print this out. So we're just going to do new tags is going to be request.post, and then we'll just do .get, and we'll get new tags. And then once we get those tags, what I want to do here is use the split method. So we'll just do .split, and that's going to take each individual string in that string, or each individual word, and it's going to split it by the spaces. So it's going to take every single word, separate it by any space, and then turn it into its own like list item. So now let's go ahead and just print out new tags here, and let's try that one more time. So in this case, we'll go into edit here, and let's just do React, Django. Actually, let's do something that we don't have. So we don't have CSS, and we don't have JS. So we have JavaScript up here, but let's just do JS, and then let's just do HTML. So at this point, this is one string. So I just want to turn this into a list here. So if I go ahead and open up that terminal, let's send that data one more time and see what happens. So if I submit that here, now we print out data, and then we see this list right here, and then we see CSS, JavaScript, or JS, and then HTML. So that split method here just took that string and then turned it into a list, and then basically it divides it by the string. So that's a Python thing, and we're able to just get that information. Now, one thing I'm worried about, and this is going to be completely up to you, and this is where some JavaScript would really make this application better. So I would recommend that you try out different methods here, but we can actually add some JavaScript that would, like, anytime we create a word here, so we'll just do CSS, anytime we hit space, it would create like a box around that tag, or make it obvious that that is now a tag. So we can do that on space or enter, but that's going to be completely up to you. So at this point, what I noticed is that it's a lot of users' habits to add in tags like this. So we'll do CSS, and then HTML, and then let's just do JS again. So if I submit this, this is going to be an issue because there are no spaces. So it's going to make this one word here. So if I submit that, and then in the back end, if we look at this, it just took that, and let's see, did it not split it? Okay, so that's actually a list, but if you notice, there's quotes right here. So this is one string still. So I don't like the way that's being submitted. So a user may also add in some spaces. So what if we just do JS, and then comma, HTML, CSS. So a user doesn't exactly know what to do here. So they're either going to add in spaces, or they're going to add in a comma, or they can even do dashes or whatever. So we just want to look out for this. So I'm going to leave this up to you. So in this case, what if a user adds a space and assumes that's how you do it? So when we hit submit, in the back end, let's see, how is this being printed? So I should probably restart the server. For some reason, it's not printing that. So we'll try that one more time. So we'll just go back to social network, and then we'll do CSS, JS, and then HTML. So if I submit that, let's see. So now we're properly splitting that, but the problem is we're adding that comma into each word, except for HTML because we didn't add that. So we can either use regex for this, or regex, however you say that. We can also use the replace method here, and then just set the actual values that we want to take out. So there's many different ways, and I'll leave that up to you. But in this case, I just want to look out for the comma. So let's just do this. Before we split it, let's go ahead and do this. We'll just do dot, and then we can do replace. So we can use the replace method, and we're going to replace every single comma with a space. So split is going to go ahead and actually trim the spaces anyway. So we're just adding a space to make sure the words are separate. So we're just looking out for how a user may enter this data, and then we're just trying to work around it and make sure there's no issues. So now we can try doing this one more time. So if I go ahead and hit edit, let's do HTML, JS, and then we can even forget the space here. So let's say a user does add the space, and then they do CSS like that. So we want to account for all of these different things. So now if I hit submit, we should get rid of the commas there. So HTML now doesn't have a comma. We split it by the other comma. So now JS is its own string and CSS is its own string. So how you clean the data is up to you. I think that's a pretty good method. It would probably be smart to actually write in like a note here on how to do that, like something that says just create a space between each word, or add in some JavaScript that would actually wrap some box around each word. So that's up to you, but at this point, we just cleaned the data. All we're doing is making sure there's no commas. We're splitting it by the spaces, and then we're turning it into a list. So now that we have it as a list, we can actually start working with this data. So let's go ahead and just remove print right here. We don't need that anymore. And I'm just gonna say project here. So when we save this project in the form, we wanna get that value. So when a user submits this, we just wanna go through the new tags. So we're just gonna do for tag in new tags. So we wanna go through that string here, and we want to add these tags to the database. Now, I thought about actually assigning tags to users, but this is gonna go into the public record. Now, one issue if we add this to the public record, and what I mean by this is that if another user logs in, they're also gonna see all the tags here. So I thought about assigning not just a project to a tag, or not assigning a tag to a project, but also assigning it to a user. In this case, because I'm gonna remove this method here in a bit here, because I'm gonna remove it, we don't really need a user, but that's up to you. So this is what I mean by user or an owner. I'm just saying that a model here, so a tag model can also get an owner. So like a specific user would have their own tags. In this case, I'm not gonna worry about that. We're just gonna enter it like into the public record, and then in theory, anybody can access those. So we're just gonna loop through our tags here, and we want to create a tag. Now, what if a user enters the same tag? So what if they enter React in here? So we wanna make sure there are no duplicates. So if a user enters React, and wow, I can't get that, so I hit caps lock there. So if a user enters React, we don't wanna create another entry for React here. So what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna do tag, and then we're gonna do created. So I think we've already used this before, but just in case, I'm gonna recap here. So we're gonna do tag.objects, and then instead of just the create method, we're gonna do .get _or _create. So just on the spot, I can't remember if I showed you this. I think I did already, but what's gonna happen here is we're gonna set the value of this tag with the string value. So remember, we're gonna get a list here. We already printed that out. So we're gonna get HTML and then JS and then CSS on each iteration. So what we're doing here is we're either gonna create a tag, or if one exists, we're simply just gonna query that tag. So created is gonna be a true or false value. So if we're using get or create, we do need to add in created or this other value. So tag and created. It looks a little bit weird, but that's what we have to do. So we either create or get a tag here, and then all we need to do is get the project here. So I'm gonna go into project.tag. So I'm accessing the project's many-to-many relationship with the tags here. So if I go back into models, the project does have a tags attribute or a field, and we can just add in tags here. So we can do tags or project.tags, and then we're doing .add like that. And then we're taking that tag, which was either created or just queried, and we're adding that in here. So that should actually add them. And again, how you clean the data is up to you, but let's test this here. So let's go ahead and do React here. And then let's do, let's see, we do have issues with like JS and JavaScript, how a user names that, but again, there's different ways we can clean it, but that's really only so much we can do here, or there's only so much we can do. So let's do CSS, and then let's add in a comma. Let's not add a space. Let's do HTML, and let's add in another space. So we'll do a double space here, and then let's just do AWS. So let's say this project uses AWS. So each one of these should be added to the database except for React here. So we already have React, but we don't have CSS and HTML and AWS. So if I submit that, let's go ahead and go back into the Mumble project, and look at that. So we just added this to the database. So we added AWS, HTML, and CSS, and then React. Well, that was just queried because it already exists. So to recap, we send the tags in this new form that we created. We had to add in new tags to get that data. Then we send that to the view, which we simply replace any commas, and we can add extra characters here. We replace it with a space, and then we split that. So we make that string a list of strings here. We remove any space there, and then we simply go ahead and take the instance of this newly created project. Then we loop through all those strings inside of that list, which are the tags, and then we either get or create and then add them to the project. So at this point, I just want to clean things up a little bit. So there's no reason for having these tags here. Now, if we have thousands of users with different languages and frameworks and different ways of how users actually save these tags, this would be a ridiculously long list. So I just want to leave it up to you and how to do this. In this case, we're just going to use this field here. But at this point, I just want to get rid of that because that can get really messy. At this point, it's just me working on the project, but that can get really messy if users or if all our users start adding in their own tags. So let's go into projects here. We'll go into project form, and we can just get rid of tags here. So let's take that out here, save that. And now in order to add tags, we just use this method. So I also want to make sure this is on create here. So the form field will have this, and it looks like the back button is not working. So there's an issue we just found. Perfect. Another bug here, back button, and that should take us to project here. So that should go to the last page here, or that should take us to our account. So we'll just do URL, and then that's going to account. And I think that was the URL here. So let's try that now. So if I refresh it, go back, there we go. So what if a user goes to add a project? So we have this form here. So that all that's the same because we're using the same form. But if I go into the view, we need to make sure that the create view can also process this. So this could be added into a function, so we're not having to rewrite it. In this case, we're just going to keep it like this. So we're going to take this new tags method here, or variable, and I want to go into create, and that needs to be on the post method. So we're going to set new tags. Then we want to go ahead and save the project. So how are we doing it here? So we already do the project instance here. That's because we're adding the owner, so we have the project. In this case, let's just loop through the tags, and we want to add that just underneath this right here. So we have the for loop. No, what did I do here? Okay, so this is in update. So we took this loop and we're going into create, and we're adding that just before the redirect here. So we do project.save, and then we add the tags. So we have new tags and then the loop. So now on created, let's go ahead and make sure that's good. So let's just do project 11. I don't think we have this. We're not going to set an image here, and let's see, let's do Heroku. I don't think that's a tag that we have. So I'll do all caps. If I save that, and then I go into project 11, let's go into edit. Well, I just realized the tags are not going to be visible. There is one other issue. I guess at this point we can't remove tags. So maybe we could list out a particular project's tags and then have like a checkbox where we can remove them. But just to confirm that that was added, we'll just do /admin tags here, and then we see Heroku. So that was added. So let's see, I guess we could do that. I'll do that in another video because I didn't prep for this. I actually have some issues that I want to go over right now. So we're not going to worry about that, but I'm going to try figuring out a way to list out the tags of a specific project, and we might have to use JavaScript for this. And I want to be able to deselect a tag. So what if I have a project here, and in this case, inside of my account, let's say I have Mumble here, and let's say I don't want to have AWS. Let's say we move to like Linode or something like that for whether that's hosting our project, static files, or just a database. We need a way to remove that. So that will be another thing. So that's the tags issue. We got rid of the tags form field by default there, added in our own, and then found a way to process that. What I want to do next here is I actually want to take care of another issue that I noticed. So at this point, let's go into our admin panel, if we look at our projects here, so remember, if we delete a project, or not a project, but a profile, if we delete a profile, the user will get deleted. And if we delete a user, the profile in theory should be deleted because of this onDelete method. So if we go back into our models, users, so we have a signal here that, let's see, somewhere here, signals.py. So onDelete, anytime a profile is deleted, we go ahead and find the user and delete it. Now, we didn't have to do this for the user because the user inside of the database in the models here already has a method to simply delete the profile anytime a user is deleted. So onDelete of a user, we just delete the profile. So it should work, but I noticed an issue when I actually ran through this. So let's go ahead and delete Sam Piper. We'll remove him. If I delete, we're going to see this user matching query does not exist. And I was looking at this for a little bit and I couldn't figure out why the heck this was happening, because this is the user. I'm trying to delete it. And then as I was looking around, I noticed this thing inside of our signals. So delete user, what happens here is, in theory, we're prepping to delete this user, right? When we delete a user, this is going to trigger the profile delete. So basically, we're going into, let's open this up in a new path because it keeps closing it. We're going into this user model and it gets deleted, and then we try to delete the child here. So in this case, the profile. So it's a one-to-one relationship, so it's not a child, but we try to delete the profile that's associated. Well, when we try to delete a profile, so the sender is a profile, we have this method called delete user. Well, in theory, the user is supposed to be removed at this point, and then we try to go into the user, which is the instance at this point, or we try to get the profile's user. So this user does not exist, so this is where that issue is occurring, so it creates that user does not exist issue. And then we try to delete it. So at this point, if this throws an error, I'm just going to fix this with a try catch here. So we'll just do try or try accept, and then accept. So that should fix that, and then I need to go ahead and close this out. So we'll just do pass like that, and that's it. So let's try doing this one more time. So at this point, our profile still exists, and it's weird because I thought that the user was supposed to be deleted and then that issue occurs, but it doesn't actually complete the process of deleting Sam Piper. So let's go ahead and delete Sam Piper again. Now if I delete him, hit yes, now the issue doesn't occur because it just goes through this try catch and it doesn't affect anything. Then the profile is successfully deleted, and so is the user. Now, there is another issue that I saw with the profiles. Again, you don't run into these because you don't always do every single part of the testing process in a tutorial. So the issue that I noticed is when a project doesn't have an owner. So at this point, inside of our models, and there's a few ways to fix it, we could just say don't list out any projects that don't have an owner, and that would be just fine. But in this case, we're going to set profile or project. So we're going into, let's see, inside of our projects models file, we just want to set this to cascade. So if a profile is deleted, then we want to go ahead and just move the project. Now, again, it's up to you. You could just query all projects that have an owner, but in this case, we're going to remove it. So let me show you what the error is just in case you've already seen this. So I have had people run into this issue already. So in this case, let's go ahead and take project number 10, and then let's remove the owner. So let's say this project owner was deleted. So in that case, it would be set to null. So that kind of represents that action there. So if I save this and then I try to go into projects here, on whatever page the project actually appears, we're going to get an issue. So project 10 is going to be on page 2. So page 3 will work. We're not seeing project 10. So that means it's right here. In this case, we're trying to set a URL here for the project's ID. So on that page, we're trying to actually query the owner, and we're getting this error. So in this case, we could just go ahead and try to remove project 10, but there's still a chance that a user will be deleted from the database. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and set this to cascade. So we'll just do cascade like that. And I don't think I need to run a migration at this point. So let's go ahead and go back to project 10 here. Let's set the user. So let's set the user to, let's see, which user doesn't have information on our website. So we'll go back into dev search. Let's remove Jane Doe. So Jane Doe has no information there. John Doe's profile is more developed here. So let's set this to Jane Doe, and then we'll save that. And then let's go ahead and delete Jane Doe's account. So that's going to represent like the user being deleted. We just want to make sure all of Jane Doe's projects are also deleted. So we can go into projects or profiles. Let's go to Jane Doe. Let's delete. Hit yes there. And now project 10 shouldn't exist. So normally this project's owner value would just be set to null, and then that issue would occur. But at this point, we're no longer going to see project 10. So that's it. So we actually could, in theory, go into this query set. So we can go into our views here or into the model itself and create a model manager. And then when we're getting our projects here, let's see. So that's in the search projects method, which is in utils.py. We could also go to projects here. So let's see, where are we running that filter? So we do projects, and we can add another value here that says the user has to exist. So that's another way of doing it. But at this point, by simply deleting the project when a user is deleted, that should take care of that issue. So let's see, I'm looking at my list here. We have the user doesn't exist, the project owner issue. Okay, so we have another issue here. So this one's going to be a little bit more tedious. So let's say for some reason that this picture was deleted. So whenever we're rendering out a project here, if we just go ahead and close all of these out here, this is more of a hacky fix, and I'm actually doing live streams for anybody that's purchased these courses in my Discord server. And we actually fixed this issue when we were first creating it, but now in this case, because this is done after the fact, we want to fix this at this point. So we don't have the luxury, I guess, of looking back and fixing it when we just made it. So let's go into projects here, and we'll go into projects.html. So we have this value here. And again, we want to fix this because there is always a chance that a user does delete their thumbnail. So we see project.featuredimage.url. So we're just going into this model here. We're going into the project model, and we're getting that featured image. So at this point, we have an image for every single project. But what if for some reason a user deletes that image? So let's see, we have project number 11 is listed out on page 3 at this point, I think. Okay, so that's page 2. So let's go ahead and go into this project, and let's just do clear. So we're gonna remove it, we'll save it. And now if I go back to project 11, this user has no picture. So if I go back in here and I try to refresh this, we're gonna get this issue now. So we're gonna see featured image does not exist. Now, if we also try to go to a profile, so let's see, who is the owner? That was me, so Dennis Ivy. If I try to go to my account here, I'm gonna get this issue again. So we're listing out the projects here too. So anywhere that project image is being output, we're getting this issue, and it's gonna happen the same for all of our user profile pictures. So we're gonna fix it for that too. So in this case, let's go ahead and fix this. And one method that I like doing, and again, this is something that might not happen to you, but there's a good chance that it will, because users do delete this kind of information. If a user can break something, they're probably gonna break it. So in this case, I'm gonna create a model method here. And this method is simply gonna look for that image URL and is either gonna find our image or it's just gonna return nothing. So it's gonna return an empty string, which means that now our project won't have a picture, but at least it's not throwing this ugly error and breaking our entire website. So let's just do image URL like that. And we're gonna pass in self here. And instead of accessing the project featured image and then .url, we're gonna do this inside of the method. And then we're gonna access the method itself in the template so we don't get that error. So in this case, let's see, how do I wanna do this? We'll do a try catch, so we'll just do try here. And we're gonna say URL, so this is gonna be like the image URL, and we'll just do self.featuredimage.url. So if the image doesn't exist, this is gonna throw an error. So in this case, we can do accept here. So accept basically just lets us move on to the next step without actually throwing an error. Let's see, that's a C there. And then if this doesn't exist, we're just gonna set the URL to an empty string. Now in theory, we could find the URL path to the default image. That's another way to do it. At this point, I'm okay with an empty string. So then we're just gonna do return, and this will be URL like that. And that's it. So we either get the image or we return nothing, but we just don't break anything now. So the try except helps us do that. So this was to the project model. So let's go ahead and take this image URL And I use the property method here, so that means we can access it as an attribute. And let's go into projects and let's remove all of this. So featured image and URL. And we're just going to do image URL, and I capitalized URL there. So I'm going to save this now, and now that issue should go away. So if I go to projects now I don't get that issue. So let's see, project number 11, it breaks it like this. So that does happen, but that's better than breaking the entire page. In this case, we notify that user, or we can add in another filter. I'm leaving this up to you. So to enhance your skills, you probably should start going into this, and you should really take it on as a challenge to fix this yourself. So I want to show you the core errors and then give you the ability to look into that and actually fix those. So now if I go into my profile, I'm still getting this issue. So we are also rendering that same attribute inside of our profile. So we're going into, let's see, let's actually start with single project. So we'll fix this first. So while we're in this app, so let's go into projects and then let's click on project number 11. So if I click on it, now the issue occurs. So that means this is on the single project page. So let's see, let's just do URL. So let's search for anywhere we access .url. So we access that in a few areas. So in this case, we are in the project URL here. So the main image of the page here, and that's in single-project.html. And we're just going to replace featured image URL. This is for the project, and we're going to save this, and let's refresh that. So now the image doesn't show up, but the error goes away, and let's go ahead and fix this in our profile now. So we're going into profile. The issue occurs. That means that this is inside of our user profile. So we don't have an image in the project form. That's good. So we can go into users. So I mentioned earlier, this video is going to be a little bit more long-winded. So I'm just going through and just kind of debugging here. So let's go into, let's see, user profile, and let's find a project image. So in here right away, we have our profile image, which we're going to change this to. So don't modify that one just yet unless you know exactly what you're doing. So let's just do project.image or featured. So featured image. So that's right here. So we only have one instance of that. So we're going to take this project featured image, change that URL, and that should fix the profile page. So now we see that, and that's the broken image. And we also have this in our account page too. So we're also rendering projects there too. So let's go into account now, and we'll just do project.featuredImage again. We have one instance of where we show that image. We'll go in here, replace that. Now if I refresh it, we're good. So let's see, any other pages that have a project image. So we went through all of our pages inside of our projects app. So we don't have it in the inbox here, login, message, profile, form, profiles. So I think we're good here, skills, and that should be it. If I run into this issue again, we'll fix it, but in user profiles and accounts was the only page within the users app that has this. So let's quickly just fix this for our user profile too. So at this point, if we go to a user profile, so let's say that one of our users, in this case, John Doe, let's say John Doe removes that picture. So in this case, I'm not going to delete it and throw the error. I'm just going to take that same method, and we're going into our users app now. So we'll close out that models.py file, and we'll go into users, models, and our user profile model here. So let's add that right here. We'll add that just below our string method. So in this case, we don't have a featured image, we have a profile pic. So we're accessing this value, copy that, and then paste that in here. So same thing, let's copy that method here, and let's close everything out and try to hopefully get everything. So the first thing I want to do is go into my account. So the account, we do show a profile picture. So let's just do .url because that's how that attribute ends. We have one instance of that. So we're going to take out all of this. So save that. Let's make sure the account page wasn't broken. So we're still seeing that URL. Now we want to go to the profile. So let's see, let's actually just go down the list here. So it's not in the inbox, not in login, profile form, profiles. So we do list the image URL here. So I'm going to do Control F again, and then look for .url, and that's right here. Change that value. And after profiles, skill form, user profile. So we do show that here. So I'll do Control F again and find that. So here we go. And I hope that's everything. There's always a chance that we miss it. Users are the best at finding bugs. So if you guys find this issue anywhere in the code, let me know, and I'm gonna update the source code and I'll make a video here. So this page is working. If we go to a user profile, it's not broken, and it won't break if John Doe happens to remove this picture. So there's another slight issue here, and this is inside of our terminal here now. So if we go into projects here, we don't get this issue, and this is with pagination. So at this point, the terminal is still clean here. We're just seeing the GET request. But if we go into developers, we should see this issue unless you added in ordering. So let's see, I'm not seeing the issue, so I'm gonna restart my server. I think I might have just hit enter on it or something. But if I hit refresh here, we should see this error right here. It's not an error, it's more of a warning. So basically what's happening is anytime we're using pagination, it's telling us that we should have some kind of ordering here. So we're not seeing that for our profiles, because when we query our profiles, we actually order the profiles by the name and then the vote ratio. So the profiles model already has it. So this issue usually occurs, or it will occur, when you add pagination. So let's take this right here and let's add some ordering to the profiles model. So we'll go back into our users app and we'll go into models, and we're gonna add that to this class here, so the profile one. So let's go ahead and add that underneath the string method. Let's do class meta ordering, make sure the indentation's correct. And how do I want to order users? So later on, we should add in some kind of like ranking system for users based on the votes they got on their projects, but let's just do by created. So we just want to order users by when they entered the database or when they created their account. So in this case, we're going to change this to created, and that's by the date here. So I think this is going to give me the newest first. So I did the dash there, and that should give me descending order. So I actually think that's ascending, so I'm going to go ahead and take that out here because Dennis was the first one that had his account created. So now we're ordering by the date created and when a user was added, and this issue should now go away. So that was just an ordering issue. I just wanted to show you that. So the last thing, or the last two things here, we have a few links that we want to fix up. So the first one is going to be when we go to a project here. So if I go to a project, so if I go to this one here, this link right here is, first of all, the name is not correct and the link itself doesn't work. So I forgot to update the template there. That's something that we just missed when we were working on that. So we'll go into a project. So this is going to be inside of projects here, and then templates, single project. So let's see, where is the user's name here? So single project. Okay, right here. So I see profile.html. So this should go into profile here. So we'll add in the tags here. So we'll do URL and then user-profile. I think that was the name of it. So user-profile, and then we need to do project.owner.id. So I think that's how we can set that. So if I refresh that, actually before I do that, I need to change the owner name. So we'll just do project.owner, and let's move a little bit to the right here. And let's see, so it looks like the name is being output. I thought this was Dennis's project. So if I go back here, okay, so that is John Doe. So if I go to Dennis, now we see Dennis and then John Doe. So I must have changed that. So now if I click on John Doe, I am taken to John Doe's profile. So that's exactly how we wanted it. Now, the next issue I'm seeing is inside of this inbox. So when we go here, we're gonna see that this link right here is not working. So first of all, I wanna go to this user's account. But remember that when we log out, users in theory can send emails to another user without even having to log in. The only difference is we have to provide our information. So this is gonna throw one issue here, and that's gonna be the inbox itself, which tries to link to the user's account. Now, if the user's account doesn't exist, meaning that an anonymous user submitted this, that link is not gonna work because that user doesn't exist. So it's gonna try querying it and then it's gonna break. So let's go ahead and close all these out. Let's go into, let's go into our template here. So let's actually throw the issue right now. So I just wanna show you just in case it didn't make sense. So let's log out and then let's send Dennis an email. So we'll just say send email. We'll just say Peter or something like that. Just think of the most generic names that come to my head here. Peter@email.com. And then we'll just say yo, and then add in some body. So if I submit that, now if I log in as Dennis here, so if I go into my inbox, go into Peter, so this link isn't working, right? So if I try to fix that link, this is where the issue is going to occur. So I'll go back into, I think this is in users now. So our inbox is somewhere here. So inbox.html. And where is that sender? So we see message.name. So that's a string value. And let's see, how do I want to do this? So I guess what we could do is we can create a link around this, and I hope this doesn't break the styling because I don't want to deal with that right now. So let's try to go ahead and just wrap this really quick, and let's just do href, and let's just set some kind of value for the actual URL. So let's just see if that breaks the styling. So it doesn't break the styling. So if I go here, it goes to, okay, so that's not right. Okay, message. So for message, so as we're looping through it, let's just do HTML in here. Okay, so that's the inbox itself. So that's not correct. So we want to go ahead and get rid of all of that. And what I want to do here is actually go into messages. So that's the actual inbox here. We want to go into the individual message. So message.html. So here we go. So we already have a link here. So in this case, we're just going to go ahead and do URL. And this is going to be, let's see. So how did that model look here? So if I go to open to side here, and in the message here, we have a sender. So we'll just do message.sender, which is going to take us to the profile, and then we'll do .id. So we can close out inbox, and we'll just do user-profile. So we're sending them to the profile, and we do need the ID. So this is going to be message.sender.id. So if I go back here, let's actually go to another message really quick. So let's go to Jane Doe. Jane does not exist. That account was removed. Let's go to Peter. Peter was also removed. Sam, I believe, still exists. So let's see, it's either John Doe or Sam. Okay, so let's go back into our account here, John Doe. So John Doe's email should work, but maybe we deleted this and this is an old account. So what I'm going to do here is actually just add in the condition right away here. So right now it's not working at all, so none of the links are working. So I'm going to remove that here. Let's go into this link here. And we're going to do something different here. So in this case, what I'm going to do here is write an if statement. So we'll just do if here, and then we'll do if message. So if message.sender, then let's output the link. And if there is no sender, then we don't want to output the link. We just want to output the name. So we'll just do end if here, or actually we can just do else here. And then we need to close that. So we'll do end if. And there we go. So we're going to take this value here. So the message name, so that's a string value anyway, so we'll always at least get the name. And we're going to change all of this from a link to a paragraph tag. So we'll just do that. And now we still see message.name. We still have the class of author, which will give it the styling. And let's give this a test here. So we'll go to Peter. Now Peter doesn't have a link. And let's see what was up with these here. So Sam Piper. So we have John Doe here, and this must be another John Doe because I've been deleting and adding accounts here. So let's actually go to a message here, and we'll just do, let's see, this one, how are things going? So we're going to attach this to the current John Doe. So how are things going? We don't have a sender here. That was another John Doe account that we made, and this is John Does, I guess, at this point. So now if I refresh this, because there is a sender now, so we attach to parent, if I refresh it, now we see a link and we can click on that. But if a message does not have an actual sender attached to it, meaning this user was never logged in or has no account, that's not going to work. So we have one more issue inside of an actual profile here. So if I go into Dennis's account here, let's see, it's not in here actually. So these links are working. So it wasn't this that was the issue. I'm trying to figure out what that was. Oh, so that was in a project here. So let's say this project has some links here. So let's go ahead and let's just do something like facebook.com. So we'll do facebook.com and let's add in a link to this project. So we're copying this URL here and we're going to a project. We'll do e-commerce website. Let's go ahead and add in a link. So we'll do a demo link and then we'll just add one in right there. So we're just adding in 2 links. So if the links exist, then they should show up right here. So this is working. But at this point, when I click on this, the links aren't actually connected. So we added in the condition successfully, but we forgot to actually link this up. So we'll go into our project now. So we'll go into projects, then we can go into single project, and let's see. So somewhere in here, we are not connecting it. So single project, we should have a bunch of statements here or if conditions. So here we go. So if project.source link, then output that link right here, right? So that works. But the problem was the actual link itself didn't exist. So we're just going to output the link and then we do the same thing and we just forgot to output the link. So we're just outputting the variable. And now if I refresh it, that still works. If I click on the link, it actually sends me to facebook.com. In that case, it would be your project itself. So that's it for the cleanup at this point. What I'm going to do here is go ahead and add in some dummy data and then upload this to GitHub. And then we'll move on to the next video where we're going to create a Postgres database. So this data will be deleted anyways. I just want to make sure that if you are just trying to download the source code, or for anybody that's new who's trying to download the source code, I just want to make sure they have dummy data. So this isn't relevant to you. You can add in whatever data you want. If you want to make this a real application, your users would upload their data, but it's not relevant to what we're doing now. So we'll add in the dummy data, and then in the next video, you'll see that. Okay, so time for a little bonus section here. And now I want to show you how to remove tags from a project. So I ended the video and then I'm going to add this clip onto this long video where we're doing the cleanup. This is already the next day and I went to sleep last night thinking about how I can show you how to actually remove tags from a project. So if you remember, a user can add a project and then they can add on any tags right here. They can go to any project and modify the tags. As long as there's a space or a comma like that, we can always add tags. But removing tags is a very important thing. That's something that users want to have the ability to do. So if we look at this Mumble Social Network project, this project does have tags, but they need to show up in that form. And I didn't like the way that it was happening before, so we just want to customize this. So last night when I was thinking about this, I thought of different solutions here, and the best one I came up with to make it seem the cleanest, I guess, was to use a little bit of JavaScript. So if you're not familiar with JavaScript, I'm sorry about this. This is the solution that we're going to use. Technically, this is like a bonus section anyways. So I'm going to show you how to do this with JavaScript. And also, if you didn't follow the API section, this part may be a little hard to follow. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to query the project and then render out all the project's tags just in a div or any paragraph tag or whatever we decide. So we're just going to render out some tags and then we're going to add event handlers. So when we click on these tags, there's going to be a little X on this. So it's going to look a lot like a tag here. In fact, we're going to use the exact same CSS for this. We're just going to render the tags out here that already exist. And then when a user clicks on these tags, we're going to have an event handler that sends a request to the backend and removes it from this project. So this is going to look seamless. The tag is going to be removed without actually refreshing the page or submitting the form. So once this is complete, a user can add tags here and then also remove tags that already exist in the project here. So let's go ahead and build this in. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to make sure this page is open, and we're just going to go back into the project form and render out some tags here. So let's open up the text editor. So inside of projects, the first thing I want to do is actually render the project object inside of that view. So we're only going to do this in the update view. So in a create view, we don't need to remove any tags, so it doesn't need to appear there. So inside of the update project view, let's go ahead and pass in the project. We already queried it right here. So we just want to pass this into the template. So let's go ahead and do project, and then we'll throw in the project itself. Let's go into the template now, and we'll go into project form. So in this form, let's see, so just above our tags here. So we created a custom field earlier, and now what I'm going to do is render out a bunch of tags. So we're going to take this form field. I just want to make sure that we have the proper spacing. So let's just copy and paste that. And now we're going to loop through all the projects tags. So we'll create a loop here and we'll just do for tag in project. So this is why we need to pass in the project. So we'll do project.tags.all. And that's how we can query a many-to-many field. And then we're just going to end that loop and let's output these. So we'll just do end for. And now we want to create a div to actually render the tags here. So we'll just create a div. And then in here, we're not going to use a paragraph tag or anything like that. We're just going to output the tag.name. So in the create page, if there is no project, this loop won't exist. So we don't actually need to pass in the project or write in an if statement. It's not going to throw any errors for us. So if I save this, let's check this out here. So at this point, we just see these tags and it's just like a text field or just like a paragraph tag here. So we're just outputting this in a string value. Now, I also want to style this too. So let's see. Inside of the div here, I want to give this a class here. So one thing that we need to do is give it a custom class because this is how we're going to access this in JavaScript. So we're going to do project-tag, and that's a new class. We haven't used this before. And then we also want to use the CSS, so the styling from these tags here. So if I do inspect here, in this tag here, we see the class of tag, tag pill, and then tag main. So let's take all of this right here. So we'll copy that, and I want to give this some styling here. So that's going to immediately inline these, and it's going to give it that cool styling. So we're going to go ahead and add that. And if I go back into the form now, so we'll go into account, we'll just go to edit this one here, and there we go. So that looks a lot cleaner. So I also want to add in an X here. So I do have some hex code here or some HTML code to create one. So at the end of this div here, let's go ahead and create some space here. So we'll add some space and then we'll do an and symbol, or I guess we could just write this out. So and symbol, pound, and then we're going to 215 and then a semicolon. So that should give us an X here. So if I save that, let's check this out. So now a user understands that they can close these out. So they're going to be prompted for that. This makes it a little bit more obvious that they can actually remove the tags here. So to actually get rid of these tags, what we need to do is add an event handler anytime this tag right here is clicked. So we're going to use this class here. And when it's clicked here, we are going to want to access the project ID. So we need to know what project is this tag associated to, and then what's the tag ID, because we need to send this to the backend so we know what tag to remove from what project. So if you follow the last section in the API section, we can add in custom data like this if you built out that front end portion. So we can add in data and then any custom attribute that we want. So this one's going to be called tag. And then inside of our quotes here, we'll just do double curly brace and we'll do tag.id. So when we click on it, we have access to the tag ID, and then we also want access to the project ID. So we'll do data-project, and this is going to be inside of quotes here and mess something up here. So we need to close that off here with a double quote and then a double quote right here. And we'll just do project ID. So one second, I'm like throwing myself off here. So I'll just scroll to the right, give myself some space, and we'll do project.id. Okay, so now when we click on it, we want to extract the project ID and the tag ID and then send a delete request to the backend. So at first, I'm going to write my JavaScript inline here. So let's clean this up a little bit. Let's save that and let's take a look at the actual tag. So if I refresh it, let's go in here into inspect here, and in the div we see the class, and then we see the tag ID right here, and then the project ID. So that's exactly what we need. So we're going to start by writing our JavaScript inline. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go down to the bottom of the page here, and then eventually we'll extract it and put it into its own file. So I typically don't like to write JavaScript inline. There are some security issues with that, specifically with XSS attacks, but that's out of the scope of what we're going to focus on here. We'll just make sure that we remove it from here. So the first thing I want to do is use a query selector. So document.get elements by ID or by class name. So again, if you didn't follow the last section or you're not familiar with JavaScript, this is going to be a little bit more difficult. One second, let's see, document.get elements by class name. I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh, I need to set the variable first, so we'll just do tags, and then there we go. So equals, and then that should fix it. So the colors looked off. So yeah, if you don't know JavaScript, this part is going to be a little bit harder to solve, but this is where JavaScript really helps our applications and enhances things. So again, it's like a bonus video, so we're not going to go into explaining everything. So at this point, all we're trying to do is just get all these tags, and that's going to return a collection of HTML elements, and we need to get this by the project tag class here. So that's going to query all the tags that we have inside of our DOM here. So in the page. So now that we have this, what we want to do is create a for loop, and we want to add an event handler to each one of these tags that we queried. So in this case, we're going to do let I, and that's going to be set to 0. So we're going to create a loop here and then add an event handler to each tag inside of that index here. So we'll just do tags.length. So while I is less than the tags.length, let's just go ahead and auto increment I, and then we want to go ahead and actually index that query set. So in this case, in this iteration of the loop here, through each tag, or as we iterate through this tags array, we want to get each tag. So we're going into the tags query set and we're passing in I. So that's going to take in the current index of the tag. So on each iteration, we're getting a new tag, and we're going to do add event listener. And this is going to be on click. So on click, let's go ahead and add in that event listener. So in this case, we're going to use an arrow function. We'll pass in E for the event. And let's go ahead and first just console some things out here. So I just want to get the tag ID. So we want to start with the ID. So let's go ahead and get that first. So tag ID. So in this case, we can just do e.target. So the target, that's the current item that was clicked on. And then we can access that custom data set by doing data set like that. And we'll just do tag. So that's the name that we gave it. So in this case, let's set the variable here, and we'll just do tag ID. And then we'll set the equals to symbol like that. And I know that in the beginning of that API section, I told people that that section wouldn't be dependent, or any other videos in the course wouldn't be dependent on that. But I didn't foresee this, so sorry about that. I guess we're not projecting this. So we'll just do project ID for this next one, and then we'll go into e.target.dataset, and we'll go into project here. So we're just getting these IDs. So now before we actually send a request here, let's just console these out and see what this looks like. So we'll just do console.log, and we'll just do tag ID, and that's going to be tag ID. And we'll do the same for project ID. So we'll copy and paste that, and this will be project ID. Okay, so I just want to make sure these events are working. So we're just consoling that out. And if I just go ahead and do inspect here, we have to refresh the page. Let's click on it and make sure that first part is working. So if I click on Django, okay, so let's refresh that again. So don't worry about this error. I'm going to clean up the source code. That is not your fault. That's actually in the template where this is occurring. So we'll fix that later. So that's not going to be your issue, and you might not even see that. So if I click on JavaScript, now we see the tag ID, and the project ID is undefined. So let's see. Does this always happen if I click on Python? So something is not right here. So project ID is e.target. So that's supposed to be just project like that. So let's try that one more time. So the event handler is working, and now we should be able to get the proper project. So as I click on this, the project ID will be the same. So this is the same project, and we have the tag ID. So at this point, what I need to do here is I need to create an endpoint to actually remove this. And we already set up our API if you followed that last section. So if you didn't, now if you want to follow this and do the same method, you might want to go back into that section and actually follow along there. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into our API section and create an endpoint just to delete this. And the reason why I want to do this with the API is because this way, because of how we're handling authentication, we're not having to send a CSRF token with these requests. That's what the REST API is doing for us, or the Django REST framework is allowing us to do. It just changes authentication. If I sent this to a view inside of projects, we would have to get a CSRF token and then send it. And I just want to avoid that because we already have our API set up. So in this case, let's go ahead and create a function. And we're just going to call this one remove tag. We'll just do remove tag. So we're not actually deleting a tag. We are removing it from a project. So in this case, we'll throw in request. And this needs a decorator here. So we'll do @API view. And we are going to pass in delete. So again, if you follow that course or that section of the course, you would know about these decorators and then also different methods that we're adding. So I don't know why that's like that. That shouldn't be the case. Let's just do dot. So from API, sorry, I just kind of got distracted. That shouldn't be the case. So I think I can remove all of that. Yeah, that was a mistake. That shouldn't be there. So let's go ahead and finish this up. So on the end here, or on the return, we'll just do return. We'll pass in response, and we'll just say tag was deleted. So we're just sending a user a note that that tag was deleted. And in here, we are going to send the tag ID on the request. So we're creating a variable. This is going to be request.data. And from data, we're just going to get the tag here. And then we'll do project ID, and we'll do request.data and then project. Okay, so we're sending these two. This is going to be in that post request that we're going to send with fetch here. And then once we get that project, we want to actually query the project from the database. So we'll do project.objects.get, and the ID is going to be project. So we're just sending in the ID. We're going to query that, or project ID. And we also need to get the tag here. So I want to import that. That's from projects.models, and we'll just do tag here. So we want to also import that. And then we want to go ahead and query the tag. So we'll just do tag. And this is going to be tag.objects.get, and we're also getting this by the ID. So we're just passing in the tag ID, and then this is going to be tag ID like that. So we pass in the two IDs, we query the two items here, and then all we need to do is just do projects or project.tags.remove. And that's it. So this is going to query both of those, and then it's going to remove this current tag here from the project. And that's it. So this is the endpoint. Now we need to create, or the view here. Now we need to create the endpoint or the URL. So let's go ahead and create that. Let's create a new one here. This is in our API's URLs here. So we'll just do remove -tag / and that's it. And then we'll just do views.remove tag. Okay, so we have our API set up, or the endpoint for this, and I hope that that's good. We'll see if we have any other issues with that. And now we want to proceed in the template. So we got the two IDs. We don't need these anymore, so I'm just going to comment these out for now. And let's move on to actually making that request here. So if we go into our API, let's go ahead and open this up here. We'll do /API, and then this is going to be remove -tag. And it's going to show me this error because it only takes in a delete request. That's the only one that it's going to accept here. And it also needs some data with that. So I just want to get this URL. This is port 8000 API remove tag. Okay, so let's go back in here. Let's do fetch. So we talked about this in the API section where we build out the front end already. So we're not going to go over this again, but all we need to do is pass in the URL. And then we need to specify the request and the data that we're sending. So in this case, we're going to set the method. This is going to be a delete method. So the view takes in a delete method. Let's see, raw on page. So we take in the delete method. So we need to set that. And then after that, we need to set up our headers. So we'll just do headers here. And this is going to be, let's see. So at this point, in our headers, we need to specify the content type. So the content-type, and we're going to tell it that we're sending JSON data. So we'll just do application /JSON. And then after our headers, we're going to add in a body. So this is going to be the data that we actually send to the backend. So we'll just do JSON. So we need to stringify it. So we'll do JSON.stringify. And then we're going to pass in the body. And in this case, we're going to say project, and then that's going to be the project ID. So what we got right here. And then we're going to do tag here too. So we'll do tag, and then that's going to be the tag ID. Okay, so we're sending this data. So this is how we're getting these two values in the backend here. So in the view, this is how we're getting that data. So by the project and tag, we're sending that, and then we need to set up our response here. So the promise, we'll do .then, and we're gonna do response. So response, and then that's gonna be response.json. So we're converting this into JSON data, and we're not actually gonna do anything with the response. I just wanna set it up because it's habit now, and it's always good to have it when you're building this in. So we'll save that, and then we can do .then, and then we actually want to get the actual response. So we'll just do data, and in this case, it's just gonna be the string that tells us that this was deleted. So data, and then this will be the function. And in here, what we want to do is actually remove the tag, the physical HTML element. Whoops, what did I do there? So we actually want to go in here and remove this from the, I guess the page here. So we're not refreshing the page, so that means that we're gonna have to remove the HTML as the tag is also deleted from the database. So we're gonna do e.target.remove. Okay, so moment of truth here. Now we wanna make sure this works. So when we click on a tag, so anytime we click on one of these buttons, let's make sure that there are no errors in the console. So we're gonna ignore that one right now. So when we click on this, this element should be removed from the page, and then the request will be sent to the backend, and then the actual item should be removed. So let's go ahead and try this. We'll click on CSS, okay? If I refresh it, now CSS is no longer here. If I go to JavaScript, Django, HTML, refresh it, let's even leave the page here. Let's go back into Mumble. Let's actually click on it. And now if I zoom out, we're only seeing these two tags. So if I want to add some tags here, I can always go in here, go to edit, and we'll just do Django. So it won't appear here at this point. That's only on submit. So we didn't use JavaScript for that. But now if I refresh it, we can see that here, and I can always remove it, and that's gone. So that's it. We just wanted to do that in line. And the last thing I want to actually take care of is just making sure this JavaScript is not here. So I believe we already have a JavaScript file. So inside of static in JS here, we have a main.js, and this is when we worked on our search form. And this should be connected inside of main.html. So if we go into templates here, main.html should already have this at the bottom of the page. So it's already connected. So that means that this JavaScript is available on every page. So I can go ahead and go into the project form, take all this JavaScript all the way between the script tags here, copy that, and we'll go into, let's see, where is that JavaScript file? So in static, we'll go into main.js, and we can add this down here. So again, we did that because I do not like adding JavaScript in line. I've done that before in the past. That's actually somewhat insecure. I would not recommend doing that. So let's go ahead and remove this, save it, save the JavaScript file, and let's try this one more time. So if I refresh this, let's go to Django here. If I click on that, that removes it, and then I can also re-add that here. So everything's working. Let's just do Heroku, JS, and whatever else we need here. So everything seems to be working. If that did not work for you, when you move that JavaScript, go ahead and do Control-Shift-R, and that should do like a hard refresh, and that should ensure that that JavaScript file is actually working. Sometimes you just need to clear things in the browser, and then eventually it will work. So again, the tags are working. It's in an external file sheet. Sorry that we use the API for those of you that aren't familiar with that, or the fact that we use JavaScript for this, but this was the most seamless solution I can find. And I think it's simple enough to follow. And if you don't know JavaScript, well, this can actually, I guess, teach you a little bit in the process. So that's it for this video for now, unless I find something else.